Hello, everyone. This is Luke from TechServe Alliance. Welcome to today's webinar, Staffing Strategies for the Impending AI Revolution. If there are any questions you would like to ask the speaker, please type them in the Q&A box, which can be found at the bottom of the screen. We are also recording today's presentation, which will be available on the TechServe Alliance website and will be distributed to in follow-up emails. Now, I'd like to introduce you to Ashwarya Potter, founder and CEO at ConverzAI.
Thanks, Luke. Hello, everyone. Thanks for taking the time to attend this webinar. I have with myself Tim Robbins, our VP of Sales at ConverzAI, and some of you might know me. Many of you might not know me. I'm Ashwarya, founded ConverzAI at the end of 2019. Before that, spent a decade at Microsoft as a product leader, running big data ML AI products. Built a bunch of multi-million-dollar businesses before starting ConverzAI. And at ConverzAI, we have built the first voice AI platform for staffing, where we are able to engage with candidates, source candidates, engage with candidates, and have conversations, voice conversations with candidates for that last anywhere between 6 to 21 minutes. We can auto source candidates, engage with them, run workflows, do a bunch of things where staffing companies are seeing tremendous impact to their top line, their profit margins, their candidate experiences through the platform. So we'll talk more about that, but we'll spend a large part of the hour talking more about what are the strategies you can put in place with the impending AI revolution that's ahead of us. All right. Okay. So what all will we cover in this webinar today? The first is we look at what are some of the things that the experts in the industry are telling us, where we are seeing leaders looking at AI, and where are some pockets and zones where staffing companies are adopting AI. Okay, so we'll cover some aspects there. Then I'll talk about what are some out-of-box AI options available for staffing companies, and what are some advanced AI options available. Okay, we'll also spend time in those actual strategies, like how do you plan for your business in different areas, and where do you apply AI? How do you how do you come up with your own considerations for making AI choices? And then we talk about achieving recruiting speed at scale. Okay. Finally, Tim will also share some of the successes of staffing companies using AI and seeing real AI transformation, okay, for their business. Okay. All right. So before we get going with all the discussions about today's topics, here are a few resources that all of you can look at. One of it includes a discussion and interview with the Chief Delivery Officer, Rob Lowry, at Apex Systems, that they use our product and they are seeing deep impact to their business with our solution. So for those folks who are interested, you can look up and just look at some segments of that conversation, and hopefully it benefits you. Similarly, there is another conversation where there has been deep impact to the business of IDR staffing. My team chose a bunch of customers, specifically IT focused, so that you all can benefit from it. Okay. Okay, so this report has been published by SIA, and these are areas where SIA is looking at and seeing our primary AI disruption areas, and where the predominant benefit will be in the revenue generating process. The first segment, the tiers of AI disruption, the first one is where they are noticing will be the primary AI disruption. This is what staffing leaders are conveying to the industry analysts, where candidate screening, skills assessment, matching, selection, and redeployment will have the most AI disruption, right? Those are places where the tasks and processes are getting updated with use of AI tools. Then the second area of disruption is around sourcing candidates, and then taking care a lot of these compliance and reporting analytics efforts. The final area is on account management, sales, and business development area. So overall, leaders are saying that they have become very open to AI. And I think a large part has also to do with the recent developments in the generative AI aspect of things. Everybody now is using ChatGPT many times as an alternate to search. So that has really helped for the large penetration of AI into not just daily lives, but also in businesses. And hence staffing leaders are noticing the same level of adoption penetrating in the staffing business as well. Now, when it comes to AI, the way to look at the different tooling or the various aspects of how you can be thinking about AI that is delivering incremental impact to your business versus transformative value. The first one is more around task optimization, or those are AI tools which can be available out of box and focus on certain siloed components in a workflow that helps to optimize that. And the definition of that is, let's say, creating human-like content, and it could be any form. It could be text, images, audio, code, um, any of those. And some examples of those is resume screening, right? So there are out-of-box AI tools available that can do a much better job today in resume screening, because it can now process large amount of content, large amount of data to process and give better output. So that's one. The other one could be job description creation. So you can use out-of-box AI tools to create pretty good job description for your recs. And then the other one is crafting emails. Okay. Or it can also be crafting some text messages, but those are short form communication. So long form communication in textual format, there you can definitely think about using some generative AI tools. Some things to consider when you're using out-of-box AI tools is the possibility of bias in output. So having some third-party audit on AI bias audit is almost like a must-have when you're considering these tools seriously. Then there is also this aspect of data privacy. And so as you start going from running some experiments into or POCs into real large-scale deployment of AI into your business, that's where you have to start considering data, like deeply about data privacy and also quality control. You don't want the AI tools to be going out of whack when it's running at scale. So these are just some simple terms I'm using, but there's a lot of depth to each of these areas around data privacy and quality control. The second aspect is about AI, advanced AI solutions, which are not task optimized, but they have been optimized for the entire process. So end-to-end AI solutions. And advanced AI solutions are now already available in the market. Uh, for example, like the definition of that thing means that automated systems that can execute the tasks, enable decision making, and interact dynamically with their environment, which means they can adapt as the processes are running. Okay. Examples of that are automated candidate sourcing and engagement combined together, and then screening and assessment. All of these, when it is optimized for end-to-end process, that's where advanced AI solutions come into picture. Rather than working on siloed tasks, they are connected on the overall attached tasks together to build an entire process. Okay. And when you are considering these kind of technologies, a large aspect is about change management because the process itself is changing. Okay. So that's a big area of consideration when you're looking at these two types of tools: out of box AI tools for some simple tasks, and then advanced AI solutions for a massive transformation of your business. Now, as we talked about the topic of discussion today, which is a lot about strategies, um, the the ones that this is what I would say is things to consider as you're making a choice for AI for your business. Okay. The first is, are you looking at some POC options? Is it a mom and pop kind of staffing company where your appetite for risk is very high? So you can look at doing some experiments with some tools that are early. For folks who are seriously considering AI into your business processes and your business and your running it at a large scale for your business, you would want to consider enterprise grade ready products, which are compliant, which have passed through AI bias audits, which are having a real clear mechanics for data governance, data privacy, security, compliance, uh, all things that make it enterprise grade ready. Okay. So that's topic number one in terms of when you're making a choice for your AI and building that AI strategy. The second is the way the tool, the product, the company, the third party is organized. Is it more around outcome or is it around effort? a lot of the past technologies were all around effort because the confidence level of delivering output is under question, right? Products that are optimized on end-to-end, like when I said advanced AI solutions that are optimized on end-to-end workflows, there the confidence level is pretty high on delivering outcomes. And so an outcome-based model can be much more aligned with a staffing business versus effort, where there is no guarantee that anything would materially come out of the product. Okay, so that's a choice number two to consider. The third is the strategy you are using to engage with your candidates. All of us know that staffing companies have accumulated a lot of candidates in their own databases over years and decades by spending a lot of money on ads and marketing. So let's call it marketing budget. So are you thinking of a strategy for your existing candidates in your database? Let's call them passive candidates. And is there a strategy with new candidates who are applying for your jobs, which are active candidates, and they're interacting for the first, or let's say second, third time with your brand? So there has to be clear strategy on managing your active pool of candidates who are incoming and managing your large pool of candidates that you're sitting on top of, where the spend has already been made. So can you generate ROI on that? So considering tools that can do all these different things is critical. Okay. The fourth is, how fast is it to get to ROI? How much effort is it to maintain a product? Okay. Strong products, and I would say advanced AI products would not require effort from customers, right? The gone are the days for 3 to 6 months of implementation time. Those are very much signals for archaic way of building an architecture versus advanced way of building architectures that can get you to a live version very quickly and also deliver output and value very quickly, right? You don't want to be caught up in the wind of getting committed to a new AI tool where everybody's convinced that value needs to be generated, and 6 months later you find out that there's no value, but you're still committed to the idea, right? So fourth point being, there has to be near zero lift from a customer when you're deploying a new AI tool. Obviously, candidate experience is central to everything that is happening here. So caring about NPS score and delivering great candidate experience at scale is critical. I'm surprised many times when I'm talking to staffing companies, they have so many candidates that are getting ghosted upon. If you have heard me or anybody on our team speak before in any event or webinar, you will see we anchor a lot on no ghosting on candidates, and that fundamentally creates a solid experience for the candidate pool, and their view of your brand starts changing over a period of time. Excuse me. We have seen that across all our customers, how candidates start reacting positively towards surveys when you create a very compelling candidate experience. And finally, is the tool or the choice of AI that you're making, is it scalable? Is it really a promise, or can it deliver at scale? So those are questions that you would like want to ask. Like, has the product delivered at scale? Is it flexible? Or are you going to have a nightmare of customization when you start requesting that? So all these are things you might want to consider when you are building your AI strategy as you're looking forward. What we have observed, that folks who have adopted AI, a lot of our customers, we're fortunate to have really great customers who are have growth mindset, are very forward looking, they're thought leaders in the industry. What we have seen is consistently these are patterns of what we are seeing as leading signals for success. There is almost always executive support for AI adoption. Okay, so it's almost every time we notice that when CXOs are passionate about bringing AI technology into their organization, the probability of success for the entire organization to be AI first significantly increases. So it starts at the top. So that's exec support. Second is, we notice that a set of folks who could be either chief operating officers or VPs of business operations or recruiting heads or delivery heads, they drive adoption and they drive change management. So if you're looking at transforming your business with AI, change management will be critical. And this role, or these folks, these leaders are critical in that. So identifying those and putting them on point for your AI adoption is critical. The third is, I already mentioned, that tool that can be easily implemented, that can work quickly with your team and your business process, and with almost zero lift from your IT team, from your recruiting team effort, anything that requires low effort and can generate ROI quickly, okay, is the third. The fourth is, once you start hitting value point, you want to be able to scale quickly, right? There's this new trend. I'm going to be writing a paper around it, where the opportunity cost of not adopting AI faster is extremely high. Um, if I were to draw a parallel, I'm trying to think a less controversial version than Bitcoin. But if I were to take something like that, there is an exponential growth that can happen with AI. And if you are missing that opportunity, that's where the opportunity cost becomes extremely high. And in hindsight, everything is 2020. So you want to get into that game early versus being extremely late. So fast start, we have noticed some customers, a cohort of customers who had a very concrete plan to scale quickly, saw deep impact to their business, and others who did well but struggled a bit to have a plan from 1 to 100. They were very good at plan 0 to 1, but then the clarity for 1 to 100 was lacking. It took some time. They got back together and eventually got to 1 to 100 plan, but that's just our learning, that having a plan of 0 to 1 and 1 to 100 clearly defined will help when you really are marching towards taking AI seriously into your business. And finally, this is probably the area which is gaining most momentum in the AI space, which is being compliant. And that simple phrase of being compliant involves a lot of things around managing your consents properly with for your candidates, your privacy policy, your terms and condition, having choosing vendors that address all these aspects of the compliance process matters a lot. So that's what I would say. As you're building your recruiting strategy, these are things you definitely want to keep in mind. Uh, Let me take a pause here to see if there are any questions. Ben, Tim, do you notice any questions that we can address? Otherwise, we will jump to the next section. Okay. I am not getting any signals. So maybe I will put in something that we notice our customers asking us a lot, or our prospects asking us a lot. They say that everybody is excited about AI, and they are having a challenge to decide which one to go for. Hopefully, okay, I see something in the chat. I'll look at that question as well, but I'll just address this point. So their thing was, how do we make that choice? So hopefully some of the content we shared today throws some light on how you can find some some framework to make that AI choice. Some additional points I would say there is, you want to, and this point is only something that you can assess. If I am running ConverzAI, I would always pitch and come up to customers saying, this is why we are good. There'll be 5 others, 10 others saying all kinds of task-based or process-based, doesn't matter. Everybody will have their own pitch. At the end of the day, you will have to do your own assessment of who has the core competency in AI. Folks that, like, products and teams that have the background, that have done things at an enterprise grade before, that have all the background of running patented technology. Those are elements that you will have to assess for yourself, right? Who has the background, who has the competency, who has done things at scale, and who are in there for running it long term versus doing a quick win. Like when I'm in the valley talking about conversational AI and voice AI to broadly all of the tech community, I see that different communities, like really strong tech folks and really strong VCs, they are constantly saying that there's like a pyramid structure in AI that's becoming harder and harder, which is optimizing for cost, optimizing for accuracy, or optimizing for latency. Most companies are only able to optimize for one or two of these. There are only few exceptional players that can solve for all three together. And players that are unable to solve for all three will eventually likely get busted, because they will have some experiments initially with their customers, use them as guinea pigs, try to do something, create some demoware, and eventually the likelihood of delivering at scale across their customer base is very low. because as the costs of core fundamental AI technologies will increase, their business becomes not sustainable. So this is a question that matters in long term. In short term, it won't matter to staffing companies, but that is something to consider, right? Is when you're having a conversation with your third party providers, talk about architecture. Like, ask questions about architecture. You can find some very smart questions on GPT. So you can you can just type into GPT saying, how do I ask good architecture questions to my vendor or provider? And then you can make an assessment. Like, can this company stay afloat in terms of their architecture to support you in long term, or are you rather supporting them in their vision? Okay, so that's an answer to a question I keep getting all the time. Let me just check if there's something else before we move on to doing a demo. Okay, thank you for that. All right, assuming there's none, we will have a separate Q&A at the end of this entire session. So don't worry if you have come in late and you have questions that you're thinking of right now. Okay, so introducing our platform, some of the aspects I already covered, but ConverzAI, we have built an end-to-end recruiting at scale offering for staffing companies. So we are solely focused on staffing companies in the US market today. So what does the platform entail? So today all the system needs is just a job. So we basically align, and you give us access to your ATS. We will build the integration. My team will spend, let's say, a matter of 3 to 5 days, and we can light up a customer. Then all it needs is a job. No other effort, rather, is necessary from a customer. A job comes in, the system can automatically source candidates from your database, generate ROI from the spend you have made over the years. So look for relevant candidates. It can also manage your entire applicant pool. Every single person who applies for any of your job, the system will manage that applicant. Okay. So that's the sourcing element, managing your pool of candidates. It can automatically screen candidates across phone call, email, text, voicemail, all things with no touch point needed from your side. Imagine an entire call center getting lit up overnight that is composed of thousands of recruiters that can simultaneously work across all your recs all at the same time. That kind of power, I can tell you, not just in staffing, it doesn't exist in the broader SaaS market today. There are some science projects running all over the place, but nobody in the market can claim to have a large scale system running concurrently to deliver outcomes. Okay, so that's what is our omni-channel screening segment. And the third is the instant assessment. So we would provide a summary of a deep candidate profile that can then be used by recruiting teams to make a decision whether they want to move forward or not. We can trigger off automated workflows based on whether you are in IT staffing, commercial staffing, or whether you're in healthcare, life sciences, I know there are some other niche verticals of staffing. So whichever is the vertical of staffing, we can run automated workflows there. And we also light up an entire experience for business leaders where we show them strategic insights to manage their recruiting strategies and make the right kind of investments. Okay. Leaders find it, I've seen most leaders using it as their go-to place then they turn on their laptops in the morning to see what's going on across thousands or hundreds of thousands of conversations that the virtual recruiter did. Our conversations last anywhere between 6 to 20 minutes. We are able to do tens of thousands of conversations every day across. If you have 10,000 jobs or 1,000 job in a day, we can manage all of that. It's personalized to the candidates. So candidates give us rave reviews. Obviously, not every single candidate. There might be one out of 10,000 that might not have the best experience. And that's a motivation for my product team to keep enhancing our product. And everything is outcome based. So we deliver placements. We want to be successful when our staffing customers are successful. So that's how the entire product is organized. There's so much more to talk about it. Probably if you find this interesting and you want to talk separately with us, we will tell you deeper about the offerings. Okay, I think it's a good time. Some of you might have joined this webinar just to hear what our virtual recruiter sounds like. So
thanks, Ash. Appreciate that. And greetings to everyone. Great to have you on the call with us today. As Ash said, my name is Tim Robbins, and I'm Vice President of Sales here at ConverzAI. I've been in and around staffing for 20 years now, and worked with IT and engineering staffing companies of all shapes and sizes across the country, actually across the world. So I think you'll find that I'm very passionate about staffing and creating solutions that create great value for your business. Earlier in the presentation, Ash referenced some content specifically with Apex and IDR, and I would begin with the story of Apex. They were an early adopter. Apex, if you're not familiar, is a leading global technology services company headquartered down in Richmond, Virginia. They're top 5 firm according to SIA in terms of annual sales. We began, like with all of our customers, with a challenge. For them, it was really creating value, creating speed, and the opportunity to improve the submission process for some of their top VMS customers. We began with a controlled work group of forward-thinking recruiting leaders and executives that were part of the Apex team, and really early on, really grabbed some great successes both in the sourcing as well as with web applicants. From there, they created a FOMO, candidly, really internally a group of people that felt they were missing out, which led to expansion into more customers. We soon got to working with their branch network, and today engage with every candidate that expresses interest to one of Apex's jobs across the the network, their own site, as well as job boards. So think of tens of thousands of calls on a daily basis, and you're beginning to imagine the capacity and engagement that we have in place with Apex. Again, great company, forward thinking, and there we also had senior executive sponsorship from the Jump Street. On this slide, you also see some great brands, TalentBurst and IDR, who are also in IT. I'll spend a little time taking a deeper dive into both of those. Integrity Staffing and Commercial Staffing, IK Hoffman, which is also commercial staffing, light industrial, all great and early adopters, and all companies that are moving into their second year of adoption with our platform. So with us almost from our first day. Actually, you can go to the next slide. Let's talk a little bit about TalentBurst. TalentBurst is a Boston-based company. And like this session today, they found their way to us by learning and listening to what was going on in the marketplace. And we had an opportunity to engage with their chief operating officer to describe some of the challenges that they have. They've got a large offshore team, a lot of orders, and some really premier customers that really require a lot of speed and high quality in terms of submissions. When we first began working with TalentBurst, like many are today, they were in a negative year-over-year comparative in terms of sales, so experiencing a decline, much of which was market driven. Plugged in our platform, and in a matter of months went from a negative growth to plus 40% year-over-year increase. Imagine a technology partner that enables your team to make literally thousands of submissions over a period of months. On a weekly basis, TalentBurst will clock 150, trending towards 200 submissions per week, and while maintaining their conversion rates of submission to placements, all at incredible speed and scale. Like our Apex experience, we began with a working group of forward-thinking, enthusiasts, folks that were really interested in AI, and demonstrated early on that the quality of the output was such that they could really move through their process with candidates faster. Certainly, they've been able to skip that whole screening process because they trust the output of AI and are therefore in position to have these higher value, higher leverage conversations with candidates at incredible speed and scale. So for them, again, more submissions while maintaining their key KPIs in terms of conversions, and again, more free time to have those higher leverage, higher quality conversations. Gone are the days of chasing down applicants that have applied to jobs. Now talking with candidates that have already been screened, expressed interest, their pay rate, their most recent skills, their desired location if it's an on-site job, and again, taking a lot of that chase out of the conversation for these higher quality conversations. Next slide, Ash. Also would ask you to consider IDR. We reference those as well. IDR Inc. is Southeast mid-market kind of IT staffing company. They also have healthcare. Will Hayes is the chief operating officer. Again, very forward-thinking, very curious early on about the impact of AI. We also started with a control group. For them, it was also first to focus on their VMS customers, but quickly, Will and the team saw the value and the speed, and included people in the initial program that were new hires. Think about the amount of training, the cost that goes into training new hires, and now imagine enabling those new hires with AI as their co-pilot. And you're beginning to imagine the strategy that Will embraced in his team. So again, really creating internal demand from the newest group, which led to participation from the most senior folks once they saw the incredible success rates that the newbies were having, with technology. Again, Will's one that's called out the experience, the candidate experience that Ash talked about, with very, very small percentage of candidates expressing any concerns. The thing I ask everyone to consider when thinking about voice AI for staffing is these are candidates that our platform is engaging with who have expressed interest, and in many cases have just applied to one of your jobs. If you've got interest and intent, and now you're getting a phone call within minutes or even seconds of applying to a job, it's game on. And as you just heard, once Jamie connects with a candidate, it's high quality conversation. For you, it's easy to deploy. For your recruiters, it's just a matter of waiting for the output. So there's wins in it for everyone: speed, incredible scale, high quality output, and you're beginning to then understand why companies like IDR and Talent Burst are entering now their second year of solutioning with us. Next slide, Ash. I referenced earlier, I've been in and around staffing for nearly 20 years, and it's not unusual for us in conversations with teams to talk about process that's been in place maybe for many years. Well, lots changed in those 20 years of staffing. When I first started in the industry was with Monster, and job boards were to many a concern to staffing agencies. Would it be disruptive? In fact, job boards became great enablers, and that's really what I see. Our platform is a great enabler of improved process. We're in an arms race in staffing, and we know that speed and quality really matters. And gone from this fragmented state process of sourcing and screening. Is your process inbound or outbound? What's the criterion process to get candidates to your customers, and then the final steps. All of that can really be, you can really accelerate the process with AI. Our process and technology is easy to deploy, and for your recruiters, it's about really freeing up time for those higher leverage, transformational conversations with candidates at speed and scale. So I ask you to consider the future, just as we did with job boards some 20 plus years ago. The industry is changing and evolving, and companies that get out in front are going to be the ones that win this arms race, even in these most challenging economic times. I think Ash, with that, would pass it to you if there are any closing comments.
I think thanks, Tim, for that. We want to give a lot of time for questions. So one last thing is TechServe is having their executive summit soon. I think the registrations are open, so you can consider attending that and moving forward with that one. And at this point, we will open it up for Q&A, and let's look at some of the questions, and we'll try to answer all of them. Okay. Okay, so Joseph has a question here. He's asking, how will the candidate experience be different using AI versus talking to a live recruiter? Okay, Ben, you wanted to take this one, or should I take this one? I see you're saying you are going to take this one.
Ash, please answer it.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, Ben. Yeah, so Joseph, the first thing to consider is when anybody talks about experience, what we noticed, if 100 people are, let's say, applying for a job, 95 of them, there is no experience. All they hear or hear back from the staffing companies, thank you for your application, we will get back to you. So when no experience is created, that's like a big black hole. A recruiter might have a very good experience for 5 of the candidates they have the capacity to interact with. So the first thing AI solves for is giving 100% coverage. You can create that experience for 100 candidates versus 5 candidates first. Second is, when AI is interacting with candidates, you can imagine machines have massive computational power, right? Which is difficult for us as human beings. So what can happen is, as the AI is having conversations with candidate, it can understand that the candidate might not be that relevant for this particular role at all, right? But as it's having the conversations, it understands the candidate profile deeply by having those deep, long conversations, and then can figure out what are other jobs in the system that are actually more relevant for this candidate, and come up with recommendations to the staffing company, like, hey, you know what, you can submit this candidate not for this, let's say, Google role for architect level, but maybe Kubernetes developer for Samsung or some other company, right? So that is where that fundamentally can create a transformative experience even for the candidate. Imagine a candidate applying for a architect role for Google, and after having a conversation, they hear back saying, you know what, this is not working out, but I have another job that I can get you placed on. And they're like, oh wow, this is more relevant for me. So that itself can also create a fundamentally deep experience for a candidate. The third is, once you create consistent experience and you're able to answer a lot of questions, then you are not worried about a recruiter having a great day or having a bad week. Okay. And then, or them remembering every single point about every single client or account and all the benefits details and all the process details. So that is, again, it comes down to computational power. So once you are training the AI to have all that knowledge, it can address every single point that the candidate was having. So you don't have to have a lot of back and forth communication. That can increase your time to hire. But imagine somebody that can answer every single question a candidate might have and speed up that process. So you might not even have 10 steps in the process. You might be having 6 steps now, and that contributes to the experience. Hopefully that answered some part of the question, Joseph, around experience. Tim, did you want to add anything before I move on to the next one?
Yeah, I'll move on to the next question. I think that was a very thorough answer. Thanks, Ash. There was a question that's, does it initiate calls with multiple candidates simultaneously? And so the answer is yes, as in absolutely yes. Unlimited capacity to talk to whether it's candidates that have applied, so those applicants, or candidates that have been sourced from your database or assigned. Think of it as a hot list or a tear sheet. All of those things can happen simultaneously. And again, unlike us on this call, these are not sequential events. These are calls that can all happen simultaneously. Give you a quick use case. We had early on board, and you saw their logo a little bit earlier, Integrity Staffing. They recently won a significant call center, a contract, and it required hundreds of placements. They needed, thousands of candidates, and to fill these hundreds of jobs in multiple locations. They assigned the jobs. There was 3 different locations. They assigned the virtual recruiter to those 3 jobs and posted them on their favorite job boards on a Tuesday afternoon at 2:30. By the next morning, 9:30 in the morning, over 1,600 candidates had applied to those jobs. The virtual recruiter had done outbound calls to all 1,600 plus candidates, connected with 900 of those candidates, and screened 500 who were interested and matches to the job. So think about that, roughly 6 hours of working time between 2:30 and 9:30, the next morning. Think of the number of recruiters it would take to do 1,600 outbound calls, to connect with 900 candidates and to fully screen 500. It's a massive math equation, and all of that was done hands-free for Integrity Staffing Team, handing off to the recruiters output that was actionable to make those hundreds of placements. So unlimited capacity, all ready for speed and scale. At your fingertips.
Yeah, great question. Thanks, Tim, for that. And folks, that is fundamentally one of the big value prop of using the platform, that it keeps the consistency of all things, experience, quality, enterprise grade, while doing deep concurrency, long form communication. Okay, it's a hard problem. Now, some other questions, that the system have ability to ask follow-up questions based on candidate answer. Absolutely, yes. It can, and various forms, various interjections, various hijacks. So it can absolutely do that. Then the next question is, can it source resumes from job boards? So the way customers are doing it today, because they want to control their spend, they are sometimes worried that if they open up licenses of job boards to a virtual recruiter, will it create a lot of spend? So the way we want to manage it is they are using that spend to get the candidates and putting them in a curated list. And that is how they're building that strategy. So they let us manage the applicant pool, which is incoming. They let us manage the entire database. And the third one, some active candidates that are getting sourced from job boards. Either it's already happening in their ATS through some harvesters or some other logic that they have in place, so they become part of their database, or they use that to build a tear sheet or a hot list and then point the virtual recruiter to take that. Okay, so that's a strategy they've come up with because they want to manage their budget. The next one, and particularly this person reminds me of probably my ex-boss at Microsoft, Satya Nandyala. He's asking, can we have workflow demo on how collected information being processed upon virtual recruiter collects the information from candidates? Yes, Satya, we can talk about it. If you feel so far what you've heard is exciting, please schedule a demo and we can talk about that. You can keep in mind that a lot of what we offer is behind the scenes services that are running. So we might show you like we might pick up an instance. We have integrated 10 plus ATSs today. So we might pick up an ATS and show you how things are getting changed there. Okay, that is the way for us to show the demo. Okay, so we can cover that. Next, I think Joseph asked another question. Can you give me some sense of the cost of this software? Is it 50K investment on a $1 million? Does it replace traditional ATS or is it a supplement? Joseph, the cost is based on an outcome. If you are in IT, we can tell you about what can be, imagine like a fixed placement fee for a placement that can happen. And we would talk to customers saying, hey, how many placements are you making? How many do you think you would want us to contribute? Okay. And so we would allot some placements to the budget. Okay. So that is how the business model works. And we are happy based on your vertical of staffing, we can provide you some placement fees per staffing. Okay. Does it replace traditional ATS or is it a supplement? That's a great question. Okay. Am I being recorded? So I have to be careful about this answer. Otherwise, I could say staffing customers, whatever, is they are very good with data and numbers. Okay. So what we have noticed is they sometimes move money from one pocket to the other. So they might take some marketing budget and give that to ConverzAI because now they're saving a lot of money. They have clarity on their funnel. Sometimes it could be optimization on some people cost because they're using some offshore folks to do some sourcing aspect, some recruiting aspect, which they now think can be done to the platform. And their recruiters can focus on a lot of relationship building and client relationship building efforts, really valuable tasks. So that is potential replacement of some of the budget. It can also save them some seat cost on ATS potentially. Okay, but seat cost is less of how they're thinking. Okay, they're thinking larger budget or operating spend or expense savings. Okay, and top line savings. Can we use this tool to get the class? This has been one of the requests we keep getting from our customers. Can you also make a virtual seller apart from virtual recruiter? This is on our list. We have not solved or went ahead of this problem just yet. Can it differentiate with candidates or other recruiters? Can it differentiate with candidates?
I think this is an IT-driven question, right? Where a recruiter may
Oh,
apply to
okay.
a job as a candidate.
Yes, it does. We see this in the corp to corp use case more versus W2 kind of profiles where a recruiter or some other company might have put in the case and the virtual recruiter can detect that an employer picked up the call or a candidate, the candidate did not pick up the phone call or somebody else picked. It will highlight that in its output. Okay. Somebody asked again the pricing model. Okay, let me see if there are other questions and I'll come back to pricing model. Maybe you missed the part when I mentioned it. So let's see if there's any other open question. Otherwise, I'll come back to this question again and I can explain it again. Da-na-na-na. Okay, I see some questions in the chat. Okay, it's the same question. All right, so I don't see any other questions, so I'll address the pricing model again. So the way the pricing model works, it's outcome based. So there is we will tell you like, hey, how many placements are you thinking you want to get out of the platform? and based on the number of placements and your staffing vertical. So based on staffing verticals, we know what are sort of the bill rates, the contract duration, and all of that. So we will tell you, here is a placement fee against every placement that the platform helps to contribute. That's basically the pricing model, right? So you tell us which vertical are you in, we will look at probably your website and say, are these the kind of jobs? And here is the placement fee we can offer to you.
I think that, to think of it as if you win, we win, and that's an investment that we're a company of our the length of time we've been in business. I think it's a huge statement to our confidence in our ability to contribute to your business. Again, this is outcome based. You're not paying for seats. You're not paying for number of recs covered, calls, talk time, outcome. Nobody in staffing gets paid for activity, right? Customers aren't paying you for activity or effort. It's for getting people placed. And so we're aligning our model with your success model, how you get compensated. Customers love that because it's really helping them to create incremental business, incremental placements for their business, and greater efficiency for their recruiting teams that are working on these recs.
Awesome. Ben, was there any other question we left unanswered? Hopefully, if there is no more questions. Okay. So yeah, if you have any other questions for us that comes up later in your mind after the webinar, folks, feel free to request a demo. You can use this QR code to scan and then request a demo. And if there are some leftover questions, we will address it when we talk one-on-one. We'll be more than happy if you consider the product for your business. We can tell you that we have had deep impact across every single vertical of staffing and size. So we are vertical agnostic, size agnostic. If you have recs coming in and you want to make more placements and get more people to work, we have a solution for you. All right, I think we can give back everybody 5 minutes of their time today. We don't have to use the full hour. Thank you everyone for attending the webinar.
A big thank you to Ashwarya and Tim, and thank you all for joining. We ask that you please fill out the survey upon exiting this webinar. Our next webinar will be how do high-profit IT and engineering staffing firms manage their P&Ls to maximize profitability on Tuesday, August 27th at 12:30 p.m. Eastern. Just a quick reminder that registration is open for the 2024 TechServe Executive Summit. Please send any further questions to staff@techservealliance.org. Thanks and have a wonderful day.
I know.